Okay, this week we've kind of Phil and I have had a bit of mutiny with the lads, so we're going to turn the tables this week, and I think particularly relevant considering it's 2 years today since you started all this up, Dan, on the anniversary of Keith Flint's demise, and so we're going to turn the tables. So Phil and I are asking the questions this week, and Dan and Jordan and Steve Bound, nice to see Steve Bound as well, are sitting in the hot seat. So where do you want to start, Phil? Should we start with Jordan?
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to go through a bit of the history, actually, because you touched on it there. It's 2 years to the day since Manup was set up. And, I think some of us have slightly alternative tendencies. I was a huge fan, grew up with the Prodigy as well. So when Keith Flint, sort of tragically passed away and the circumstances surrounding that, that's when a lot of this stuff sort of came more to my attention. So maybe for a lot of the viewers that tune in and check in on these videos, as you say, we tend to have questions posed to us, but it's a good opportunity to turn the tables and really sort of give people a bit more background on Dan and Jordan and Steve, and tell the journey. Where did it come from? So I guess for those that aren't really aware of where Manup started, that would be a good place to start, Dan.
Absolutely. Who are we going to vote in first, Jordan?
So who's first then? Me?
Yeah, you.
Right.
Go on, you go first then, Dan.
We'll go chronologically and we can bring you in through the passage of time and the journey this has gone.
Right. So what's the question?
Well, so the question is, why is it here? How have you dealt with it? I mean, I think it's fairly common knowledge that we're trying to put all of this lot into a regulatory body so that we're a charity. I say the royal we, and how have you coped with that? Well, one, from the beginning, but I think also from a point of view of lockdown, running business, and also trying to push all of this through, because we're all well aware that there's been a whole horde of paperwork and bits and pieces that we've had to do. How have you dealt with all of that?
Well, it's been a nightmare, if I'm honest with you. Oh no, the thing is, it was literally two years to the day in this office where I got the news about Keith. I knew Flint, I knew Keith. I wasn't best mates. I knew him. I've DJ'd with him. I've ridden motorbikes with him around Snetterton and Brands and all that kind of stuff. So it was just like a bit of a reality check. But the thing is, I remember yet again in this very office, I was just like talking to somebody. I think it was like Faye, someone in probably the developer Paul. And I was like, do you know what? I know so many people who've killed themselves. They've taken their own lives. Like literally well over 10 people, 10 funerals. Who I know more people who have committed suicide, men, than who have died of normal stuff.
Natural causes.
Natural causes, yeah. And I was like, something just needs to change. So that's kind of how it all progressed. And originally this was going to be an annual event because I've got a drone license. Well, I had a drone license where I could, my rules were I could only fly I could fly up to 1,000 people, up to 1,000 people, whatever. So I was like, okay, let me see how many men I can try and encourage to accept that it's okay to not be okay. And then fast forward a little bit, a few businesses, a few charities didn't want nothing to do with it because I used the term Manup. So I did what I normally do and just ignored it and carried on doing stuff. And then I was on Google Maps looking for a piece of land which is big enough to ideally get a thousand men on it, and couldn't find anywhere. I was getting turned down. And then I remembered my mate Jordan is a governor of a school, so I phoned him up, and here we are now.
And that gave you the facility really to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely that. Yeah, and okay, yeah. The gimmick behind it was 1,000 men. I'll be honest with you, I knew I wouldn't get 1,000 men. I was hoping to get 500.
Mm.
That was my goal. It didn't quite work out. I think it was a bit less than that, but whatever. We
needed to have a fairly high number, though, didn't you? Because if you like, oh, I want to get 10 men in a field,
yeah,
it doesn't really doesn't have the same punch, does it? So
yeah, absolutely. I don't know where Jordan's Wi-Fi's playing up a little bit, so he'll come back. Yeah. So and then so once we got the permission from Jordan through Coppleston High School, who within 20 minutes of making that phone call, Coppleston High School come back. The head teacher was like, "I love your idea." That same day or the next day, I called in Steve, who's been a friend of mine for 15 years now.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so from the old party days and whatever else, and I asked him to do whether he could help me out with some posters, and it's kind of just evolved from there. But the hardest thing is the annoying thing is when I started, not a lot of people wanted anything to do with it because of the term Manup, and my attitude was just like, well, maybe you should spend 10 seconds longer to understand what Manup is and why we're doing it. We're not telling people to man up, so that's your problem.
And that's why it's always got the question mark on the end.
Yeah, every mention of it is man up, one word, uppercase with a question mark. We will never ever use that anywhere else. The only time we might change it is, say, like our YouTube channel that doesn't allow, Facebook, sorry. On Facebook, we're not allowed question marks in the page name. So we will either, we will use manup.how, which is exactly what the website is as well, just to try and combat it a little bit. But the one thing we can't ask Facebook to change their algorithm setup just so we can use a question mark in the URL.
I don't see why not, personally. I mean, with enough pressure.
It's the least that they can do, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's kind of how Manup was invented. We're going to do another one at the Colt Bar in Ipswich of last year. June, I think we said in last year. Then COVID happened, and me being a stubborn sod, I didn't want to just turn. One thing about mental health, I've said this before, is everybody will jump on it on Suicide Week or Mental Health Week, or everything's about weeks or days. And then I noticed, actually, thanks to COVID prevented Manup from being one of those weeks or days where everyone just jumps on it as a fad for 3 days, shares all over the social media, and then goes again.
So looking for more of a paradigm shift in the whole sort of thinking behind Manup, isn't it? And that's what sold me, or not sold me, you weren't selling me anything, but when you explained it to me, I was like, I totally get it. You know, we're all different. There's no, oh, this is a man, you're not a man, and it bugs me, it annoys me. So I was like, yeah, anything we can do to change that and to help people. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of how it evolved, really. Just started doing the videos, originally group videos, I think it was, on the old page. Then started doing the one-on-ones, and then realized, let's make this into what you can see now, and just evolved to what it is. Has it been easy? No, it's been bloody horrible some of the times. I've had a call that I've had to do welfare checks on people before. These are complete strangers with their messaging the page. They're sending horrible things, not horrible as in horrible to me, but some dark stuff. And I've had to make the decision to phone the police to do like a sanity check or welfare check to make sure they're okay and stuff like that. And that's what I wasn't. I knew we'd get the odd people. I didn't realise it would be as many people as we have. And that's when I decided, or me and Jordan decided, or actually Steve as well, that actually, if we're going to get this serious, we've got to regulate it a little bit, pull in the trustees, go for the charity status, and get it to wash its face a little bit, and go.
What was the point that really kind of steered it in that direction, though? Because when you chaps set up the original initiative, did you ever think that this was the direction that Manup was going to take? And do you feel that particularly the last 12 months and the circumstances we've all been living through has helped kind of sharpen that direction of where you want to take it?
Good point.
Yeah, well, originally COVID killed Manup. Originally, but back then I was like, I've wasted 12 months to 18 months of my life, really, and I got bored of keep cancelling it. And then I started getting messages. It was like, oh, just do it anyway and stuff like that. And there was a few people that were trying to help me find loopholes on how to do the event and put it under like a charity thing. It just didn't sit right. And then that's what kind of drove the need. So I'm actually, for Manup, I'm glad COVID happened.
I think it's developed like a whole channel on Facebook and now YouTube, and you know, it's just another touch point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and you've always said in the past, you know, you don't really get that many likes on the videos, and maybe that some of that is because, you know, Steve Rook doesn't want to be seen to be you know, maybe suffering with anything like this, because you know, that's the whole shit thing about it, is the fact that, you know, we're all grown men, and there's a group of grown men that are afraid to stick their hand up and go, guys, I'm really fucking suffering here, you know, I need a hand. You know, and it's so I think it's, I mean, personally, I think it's done the world of good for the channel and just produced more touch points, really.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, what I've realised, I've had my own mental health demons. It's no secret I'm high functioning BP dev, never hidden it, and the high functioning depressive stuff. But it's just the one thing is my life is my story, so I think I'm unique. But actually, there's a lot more people who are suffering the same thing, but they feel the same. They feel the same way, so they hide it. That they'll just sit at home depressed, or they won't get out of bed, or whatever. It doesn't matter how they don't deal with stuff, but they won't ever tell anybody because they think it's just them. So hence why I just do these videos. It's just that I'm well aware people watch the video and they won't like me. I get it. That's fine. I know most people absolutely adore me, but there will be the odd people who just who wouldn't be able to stand me, but they'll like you, they'll like Jordon, they'll like Steve, and there'll be something what Phil might say where they're like, I hadn't thought of that, and that thing could actually change their thought pattern and help them resolve. So that's all Manup is. That's all Manup really is. So
nice to see Steve Bowen eventually having put all this effort into brand and design and starting to make everything look really slick and pro and brand master, design guru.
I'm happier off camera.
Perfect face for radio. Yeah. But you know, I mean, obviously this is something that you feel passionately about as well, because you wouldn't be involved with it otherwise.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it wasn't long after we sort of initially agreed to help with the branding and whatnot. My brother died, and he you know, he suffered with issues and whatever, which I won't go into, but it just sort of really cemented home why. I mean, I was passionate about it before, but that sort of really cemented it. You know, any help we can get to anyone, really. If it's just one person, it's worth it. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though, isn't it? Is all of this isn't about vanity and stuff like that. It's just
that's quite the opposite.
No, absolutely. It's really nice. So, for example, there was, again, we don't really talk about suicide that much because we try and get in early. But the suicide and video with Jordon, that video, that evening, no, sorry, it was that. No, it was the next day. Sorry, I remember in the evening, I got a message for the thing for this guy, and he goes, "That video tripped me out." And I remember thinking, "Oh, what have I done? Have I triggered something?" My mind is going mental. And he was just like, what he was gonna do, what Jordon did in the video when he tried to take his life is what that guy planned that evening. And he was just like, I watched the video and it just freaked me out so much. I just ended up like talking to my missus and sobbing my heart out. And stuff like that, and it was just like, thank you to both of you, thank you for what you've done, because you've just changed my thought pattern for like 2 seconds, just to go, wow, okay, what on earth was I thinking about? So yeah.
And that was one of the kind of the biggest things that always struck me, having watched and then also sat in on some of these, was, you know, you say is you might not necessarily gravitate or like one particular person, or you might gravitate towards another, but the topics are just so relatable, and the openness of the conversation is what has always kind of struck me, is the fact that it is just kind of that safe space of reassurance that you're not the only one that's kind of experienced something like that or gone through it. So even if there is a little thing you can take away from it, then it's, you know, it's made impact and it's made a difference. But
I think there's a level of candidness there, you know, and the fact that Dan and I do not prep for these as much as they seem scripted and so polished. You know, that it's
They don't seem polished, you liar.
he's going to relocate to another room in a minute. So
yeah, we just rock up and we ask gents a few questions about how they're getting on, and you know, they're not edited or anything like that, and we ask the questions because that's just what popped into our head at that moment. And you know, you always meet so many, and I think that's the best bit of it, because you don't want to rock up preloaded with lots of perhaps misconceptions about an individual based on their experiences. The amount of times as Dan well knows, I turn up late, I've no idea who we're about to talk to, and then I'm finding out as the conversation progresses, and I'd have no idea who they were and what they've gone through. And I think that's what sets Manup apart compared to other ones, is that you've just got some ordinary folks sharing some stories that, as you say, Phil, folks are relating to, that they've went through. And it you know, you've got everything from they've had a bad day right through to some quite harrowing stories like Jordon around suicide. And I think there's something in there for everybody to relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's just having a chat. It's a group of guys having a natter, isn't it, really? You know, if you turn up with a set of interview questions, you know, all you're doing is kind of like a form filling exercise. And the trouble is then if one of the conversations happens to kind of lead you down a path, you want to follow down that path rather than getting back and trying to stick to your script. Yep. Or, you know, you guys have never had a script, so yep. The chat just takes its own path and goes where it needs to go.
Yeah. It's like even a lot of the topics, like sometimes I'll see somebody say something about mental health, and I'm like, that's something what needs to be highlighted. So I'll either contact them or whatever else and have a chat. And the only rules and preparation we do is we go, okay, that person, like we used to, we've done the cancer that video. We'll check.
Yeah, you have to know a little bit about history.
Yeah. We know what the topic is, but we do a little bit of that word just to make sure that like you're not just a horrible bastard who's like slagging everyone off on the internet, because we don't do that. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, as you know, we don't script. We're certainly not organised, and we just see where the conversation where the conversation goes, really.
Yeah.
I think there's a level of organisation there. There is a lot of hard work that goes into getting guests, and not that Dan would admit it, but there is frantic calls in the week, even to a Thursday morning, about trying to get on somebody, and then they drop out back and forth. And I know a big priority of ours moving forwards is to continue that diversity of guests, both in diversity of different ages, genders, religions, communities, but also diversity of experiences and backgrounds. And that's what keeps it quite fresh. So there's a level of organisation on that part.
Yeah, no, there is. I'd say, yeah, there is. I was going to chime in, but forgot what I was going to say.
Well, we kind of touched on the fact that there might not necessarily be a script, but there's certainly a plan and a direction. Is there anything we can kind of share with people as to what's coming next? Because, you know, through our conversations, we're aware of how much hard work goes on in the background and the things that are being worked on. But you know, Steve's been working his backside off, you know, fully functional website with you, Dan, and, you know, what can we expect?
Yeah, well, I say, I think for me is obviously get that charity stuff, because then people start looking at it as more serious, and it's not the video format and the way we do our outreach that will never ever end. But what I want to start doing is start going after, help me out on this one, Jordan, but I don't want to say going after, but it's just, did you know there's certain insurance policies, if you get diagnosed with a mental health condition, your insurance policy's gone, no refund, nothing, dead, completely cancelled. There's some mortgage deals where you can't get if you've got certain things. Do you get what I mean? So I want to start building up data, not to, I don't want to take on the insurance company because we will lose. But I want to start saying, actually, do you know what, this life insurance policy, why can't you, if somebody's not taking medication for 10 years, they've lived their life for 10 years, they've got a family, but they were diagnosed with a mental condition 10 years ago. Why? What's the reason for it? Help us out and try and highlight that kind of stuff as well. But it's also on the NHS and these charities and stuff like that. The NHS do fantastic work. They absolutely do. Are they under resourced? Absolutely. Can we help them out? Yeah. And that's by highlighting different topics, because I'm still quite a believer that some mental health issues could, I don't want to say prevented, but can be resolved at home if that man opens up to their partner or whoever they live with and just say, help us out, rather than hiding it for so long that it's that small issue is developed into such a big issue. That's when mistakes start. That's when mistakes start happening. It's exactly the same as like some of these charities. They do some really good stuff, but there are other charities where they're not. So I want to start using Manup's influence with trustees and regulation and say, actually, do you know what? You've generated £500,000 over the last 2 years. What exactly have you done? I don't want to out people at all, but it's just more about education. I don't want Manup to be naming and shaming people, but stuff's got to change, because the way men deal with mental health, well, it isn't. Suicide rates, yes, to be fair, suicide rates are going down in both genders, not much. That was before lockdown, but death by drink and drugs is going up, massively going up. So what's happening is rather than people deciding suddenly to kill themselves, they're poisoning themselves. They're drinking themselves slowly to death. They're taking drugs, and they're doing it that way. And for me, that's just got to change, and I don't know how. Hence why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've just ruined the chirpy conversation. So.
No, not at all. But I think Phil's right. In you know, it's good for people to kind of see a plan. You know what you know, they can see what Manup's done already, but you know what's the vision, and you know, I think it's a key point really. You know, and the fact that it's still it's active, it's moving forward. You know, and it's open to change as well.
Yeah.
Well, that is the point, isn't it? That's the starting point, and it's getting people to talk, you know, and they might not talk to their partner or whoever it is, you know, significant person straight away, but seeing other men talk to other men and topics which they possibly thought, well, no, you know, that would never be discussed, and they are being discussed, and so freely and openly.
Yeah.
It's got to sort of knock on and hopefully, you know, people will start opening up.
Well, do you know what was quite funny actually? I think I was logged in on Facebook or something like that a little while ago, and I saw one of her friends share one of the Manup videos to her partner saying, "This is you." So I literally just wanted to say, wow. and then that bloke was the bloke. I remember looking at it, and the bloke was just like, "Oh bloody hell, you're right." But he says it's not just aimed directly at the men; it's to people around that lives as well.
Oh, completely. Completely.
So yeah,
they're key. I mean, they're key to being able to change opinions or support, or you know, kind of, you know, get people through. You know, sometimes you've only got to get somebody through half an hour. You know, they might have dark thoughts for a half an hour, and you've only kind of got to reason with them or cajole them through that 30 minutes, even maybe, and they come back out the other side a brighter person and thinking, Daft bastard, what was all that about? But
Yeah.
that's the thing. So it's educating the people around the men as well as the men themselves.
Yeah, but it is also that eventually just the other thing I think I'll answer. Yeah, so the video format and the way we do the outreach is very much that is Manup. That's the bread and butter, even though we don't get paid sod all for it. But and then the other thing is starting to have a bit of clout behind us to say, right, you charity, we can see you do this, but what's the impact? Or insurance companies, why are you cancelling people's life insurance? It doesn't really matter what it is, but you get the idea, and having big enough balls and clout behind us to say you can't ignore us now. And then the final thing is probably more Jordan's thing, is eventually I'd love to start, I don't know how we'll do it, hence why I had to call everyone in, really, is actually start awarding businesses for upping their game. Actually, should I say up their game? I've said it now.
Respecting mental health in the workplace.
Yeah, and actually start,
really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly, and just start awarding people for actually just changing the way they deal with mental health. So I've said this before. There's a company where they, I won't say them who they were, but they said they didn't have a mental health policy, didn't acknowledge it. So I said to them, I was like, well, what's your sickness like? They were like, our turnover of staff is stupid. And I guarantee if you paid somebody to go on a mental first aid course, somebody who just knows what to look out for, when I'm hand on heart, I reckon your sicky days would arguably be dropped by a quarter. They emailed me about 3-4 months later after they set it all up. It halved. Just because of the way they were just like, okay, actually we're just stressing out our staff so badly. We need to stop it.
I mean, Jordan, you're our kind of networking, business to business guru. I mean, clearly you can see a space for this in the workplace, and the obvious benefits from it.
Oh, definitely so. Back in the day when I could go out hobnobbing with glasses of wine
on your yacht.
There is a space for it, and I think that there's organisations out there who, Dan talks about upping their game. I think it's just doing what's right. It's not just we shouldn't need to do it, but we have to make some sort of change. And it's opening up those conversations in workforces, and I think it will be I'm not going to pick on any sectors in particular, but I'm sure people know.
Go on.
I won't because I enjoy my job. So I will say that there are sectors out there which will talk about mental health far more than others will, and there will be sectors where you'll probably be shamed for it and in certain job roles as well, and that shouldn't be the case. And I thankfully work in a team and an organisation which holds it in the regard it should always be held in, that you need to have a positive team, and you have take time off. I had somebody in my team message me today feeling absolutely crap. I said, well, go out for a walk for an hour or whatever, just clear your head and then come back refreshed. No one's gonna, nothing major is gonna happen in that time. And for some people, a response to that might be, well, take a walk in your own time, wait until lunch, or go. I don't care. The work is still going to get done. Just focus on yourself. People are way too harsh on themselves, I think, sometimes. And I think we need to work with businesses to make sure that they are supporting their staff. And it not just through a pandemic, but actually it's not a novelty to ask someone if they're okay. Or maybe say to them, why don't you take an afternoon off soon? You've had a lot of work on. Those sorts of conversations need to be happening, not just for a pandemic. It needs to be ongoing. So that's my take on it. But I'm not going to pick on sectors.
Well, no, it's a broad spectrum, isn't it? And much like mental health in its own right, there's businesses and certain industries and companies that are doing fantastic things in the way that they're approaching mental health for all genders, as well as others that might perhaps just be paying it lip service because it's the trendy thing to do, getting involved with the isolated celebratory weeks. So yeah, it feels like it is really about just those open conversations, because the education points start from just discussing it. And yeah, that's where I've seen, particularly within the sectors that Dan and I work in, I think, digital agencies or marketing tend to be a little bit ahead of the curve with it. And we work with and know quite a few agencies that are doing so many out of the box, fantastic things to support people with mental health. Whereas you will always, just have other organizations that just haven't given it that airtime or discussed it, thought about other ways of doing things. Exactly as you say, Jordan, it's like, go for a walk in your own time versus actually, no, it's more beneficial if you just go and clear your head now, come back and look at the problem or the challenge in a different way. Because I don't think it's ever really been Manup's desire to outright provide the solutions or the answers.
Absolutely.
But it's a conduit to creating those conversations and then highlighting it more to be able to make a difference and make an impact.
Definitely. Chaps, I'm just conscious of time. How are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're we're way past our sell-by date as normal.
Yeah. Well, as you two are hosting, and one of you two want to wind it down and piss off.
Yeah, well, yeah. We'll just piss off. I suppose we'll just do the Dan and Jordan show. Phil, how are you feeling? How are you doing? And what do you think about these plans for us all to be able to actually get out and do stuff?
In regards to the world opening up, or this in general, it's been interesting because I find the isolation incredibly difficult. I'm a bit of a lone wolf when I come to it, so I'm happy working on my own, but I am starting to feel the strain of focus, and particularly the types of things that I do for work, engaging with people, collaborating, is incredibly important. So I'm certainly starting to feel that kind of void. So I'm excited for the next couple months. Positivity, particularly working in like the festival sector, the good news of people looking ahead and sort of planning on these things that they can be excited about and plan towards, is certainly kind of invigorating a lot of people I work with that have been hit terribly through this. So it's always been a roller coaster, but I'm feeling really kind of enthused about the next sort of 6 to 12 months. So yeah. How about yourself, Steve?
Kind of pretty much like you, really. I mean, we've got a large hotel. We do a fair bit of work for a large local brewery, both of which have been dramatically hit by what's happened. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel now, and certainly, I mean, I dealt with the first and kind of second lockdown, I suppose, to a degree, okay, because the sun was out, you could have the windows open, you could have the doors open. Winter lockdown, I think, has just been horrible for so many people. One, I mean, it's just something that we kind of expected, we were dreading, and then it came along and kind of, smacks you straight in the arse, and you think, oh, for God's sake, not again. But the weather has just been crap. And I think everybody's now just getting into spring, and all the sort of green shoots are coming up, and it looks like everybody can go out and go and see their families again and go and mix with their mates. And there's kind of like you haven't got this infinite timeline anymore. So, I'm very, very much buoyed by the whole thing. And I've had my jab as well. So yeah, go me.
I get mine on Saturday. I've never been so thankful for having screwed up lungs. I've just managed to jump the queue and stuff like that. So
yeah,
well chuffed about it.
Result. Well, and I think we can. We've got plenty of opportunity and plenty of good things to look forward to. Really.
Yeah.
So all good.
Can we end the video now? Then it's going.
Yeah. On. Everyone happy?
Yeah, we don't have Jordan with the drum kit this time, so we can't end on a badum.
That was a brilliant. That was a brilliant.